Welcome to the Radically Embody Love Podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, and my beautiful co-host, Nasrin Barbic. We are actually coming with you today for our last podcast, which is both sad and exciting, bittersweet. As with any ending, there's always a new beginning. Ness and I were just talking about that, right? Instead of thinking as like, oh, this thing is ending, focusing on, oh, what is this creating space for? What is the new beginning coming out from the ending? And it's not always easy, right, to do that. And the beauty, I think, is that we get to hold both, like the tenderness of an ending and the excitement of a new beginning. So we both have new beginnings coming out of the ending of this particular podcast. And we're so grateful for your support and listening and all of I know for me personally, I just feel like it was such a natural, beautiful part of my own evolution. When Ass and I started talking about doing the podcast together, I said, yes, yeah, I would love to do that. And we spoke about it several times before and made sure we were on the same page. What would we like to do and talk about, and really got to know each other a lot in the process. And for me, it just feels like there's no way I would be where I am today if we hadn't had that collaboration and all that we've been able to support each other with and learn from each other and do, and our friendship will continue, and I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for what we've done and what we've created and where we're going.
Absolutely. When I think about when we just happened to meet online and then meet in person when I came to Asheville and we got together, it looks like there was some divine plan for us to get together and do this. I know for me, I needed that. You became my security blanket because I was hesitant. I wanted to do a podcast, but I felt like I needed somebody else's, conversation and you gave me that to begin. And we did it together. I personally learned from you. And every conversation that we had, it was always from our heart, and we shared and we listened. And it was expansion for me. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate what we've done together. And as you said to me, now we have a new beginning. As we were talking about before the podcast, we started recording, each of us have been growing through this process in our own way and have our own unique interests as well to want to talk about certain things. So, and, as you share with me, you felt a sense of wanting that freedom to do all of that is aligned with you and share, which I totally appreciate and honor. I also felt like with everything going on in my life, I needed this break to regroup and refocus. And the timing just worked out fine for both of us. And when you were ready, I was also thinking maybe I need to slow down. And so this will give me the opportunity to do what I need to do for myself at this time, the time that I need. And I am truly grateful for the opportunity that we had together. Really, it helped me to get out of my shell, get out of my comfort zone. And I probably wouldn't do it if we wouldn't done this together.
Same. Yeah. I definitely feel like, starting a podcast can feel really daunting when you don't know what you're doing or what to talk about, however, and then to be able to do it together gave us both the confidence and a greater capacity, right? Like they often say, like when two come together, right? Like, because there's a certain energy that we got to lean on each other when we weren't sure and ask each other questions and have that support. And And though we won't be doing it professionally through the podcast anymore, we'll continue to do it in friendship ways and supporting each other. And for myself, I was reflecting, I don't even think that I would be in a position to start my own podcast now if I hadn't done this one with you for 1.5 years, because it did help me realize, oh, there's even more I want to say. There are even more subjects we haven't broached upon yet. And just to give you guys a little bit of a backstory, so I spent many, many years doing a lot of research and self-study and religious history and mythology and ancient civilizations, and interweaving all of that with my own personal experience around soul sovereignty, around sexuality, around relationships, and the old paradigm of relationships that have led to a lack of freedom, a lack of having a self in a relationship, particularly for women, self-sacrifice, all of that codependent dynamics, and wove it all into a book that I worked on for many, many years. And that finished, I guess, last year at some point, when I really stopped working on the book last fall. And then after that, I started to feel this like, well, where are you going to put that energy now? Where are you giving voice? How are you giving voice to these things? And so I started to feel, not even that long ago, oh, I really am ready to talk about these deeper soul truths that I haven't given voice to verbally, and talk more about them in a way that I can purely co-create with the goddess, purely co-create with Gaia and my own soul, and put something out each week that's just like this, like a, I don't know if you can't see me on audio, but heart to throat, just this like pure transmission, me and the goddess, me and my soul, what wants to come through in what's now called the Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality Podcast. So just really intimate conversations about that. Not because I didn't want to stop having conversations with Nas, but because it felt like something new wanted to move through me. And what often happens for many of us, I think, when we're conscious and we're self-aware and we love so deeply, that we get afraid of like, oh, I have this deep soul truth inside of me and this deep desire that feels like this is my next stage of evolution. And yet I'm afraid of the impact this is going to have on other people in my life when I tell them this is what I want to do. And I was nervous to tell Nas about the desire to move into a solo podcast. And yet it was just proof, right? That the universe, what is right for me is right for you. Like when we are acting in alignment with our soul self, our higher self, what is right for us, our deep soul truth, is always going to be what is right for the other, whether they recognize it or not, right? And that it's about trusting in that, and trusting in something bigger than we can see with our physical eyes. Because it was just perfect timing for you too. And there's no way I could have known that, but they two linked, because that's the magic of the universe.
And even if you wouldn't, I would honor your decision, because I do believe you need to, more than anybody else, you need to be truthful to yourself. And it's what is calling you. Look, we are here to share the love of truth with the capital T. Right? And we all have our own style, our own messages that comes through. And we need to, more than anybody else, we need to honor that. We need to dedicate ourselves to that, because that's why we're here. When you're in this path, you have a passion, you have a purpose, you have a reason. And I think when you dishonor that, then when things don't align anymore in your life. But part of being truthful to yourself is also honoring that. And when you speak from that truth, the person who is receiving it sees the truth in that, and honors that, if especially that person is the same path as, journey as you are going in a way. And so either way, I would have been fine with that. But the fact that actually when you said it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good time for me to take a break too, because I have lots going on right now and I do need to focus on myself more. And this will give me the opportunity. So I am excited for you, and I truly applaud you for already starting your podcast and doing it. And I hope everybody join in, because you always speak from your heart and the truth that you know at that time. And that's what we all need to tune in to, also moving through our own truth. And we always know it when we resonate with it, it feels good when we listen. And we know that even sometimes we can't understand it, but we know the truth in that, and we become curious and want to know more. So I want to encourage everybody to tune in, and without any belief. And something in my own journey I've been doing right now is can I drop all the identity that I have believed about myself? I'm a mom, therefore I have to be doing this thing. I'm a wife, I have to be doing this. I am this and that. Drop all that, all the belief. Can I drop it? Why do we need to have beliefs in our life, right? And see what the universe is bringing to me. And without any resistance, can I surrender and accept and move through life and see what is asking of me? And it's been really great past couple of months that I have more and more have got comfortable in that and moving in that. And I see the conflict in my life is just shedding away. My relationship are getting deeper and better. People who needs to be in it staying and solid. People who need to move out, they're moving out on their own will. So I think in your own path, I honor that you are listening to what is coming through you and what is sounds like alignment for you to do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. And you touched on a really good point that I want to highlight, which is, well, several things, but one is that, when we really are devoted to being in union with our soul, our divinity, our true self, it does require devotion to that inner truth, regardless of whether or not somebody agrees or understands or comprehends or can make sense of, or if it's in alignment with them. And I also do believe that there is a magic that often happens when both people are in alignment of it weaving itself together, like with us. And I've also had experiences in the past where, where my truth was met with a lot of resistance and anger and spite. And that no matter what, we're devoted to speaking it, because the devotion is to the true self and not the temporary comfort. And I remember really feeling that before I knew how aligned it was for you. I remember feeling that like Nas is going to understand that I have to be true to me, because she understands that, and that is sovereignty in a relationship. That is recognizing the divine within the other. That is the new paradigm of creating freedom in relationships, is that we don't have these energies going out, the codependencies, because my identity is based on you, my power is based on you, my worth is based on you, all of those old ways that we are so entrained to relate, that we've both done so much work and support other people in doing that work of releasing the false identities and the ways that our power goes outside of us, to sourcing from within, which is sovereignty, which is freedom, to source our identity from within. But it requires we release all of these other identities that we're so attached to, the ego mind is so attached to. And it's not that we can, I don't think, get completely rid of beliefs, because when we have one belief, we change it to another. Like we have beliefs, but are those beliefs aligned to the soul truth? Are those beliefs our own beliefs, or are they beliefs we've just inherited but never questioned? And so in a way, I'm realizing in this moment how much this this is really even just a demonstration of freedom in a relationship, of a true co-creation, right? Of a true sovereign choice on both of our parts, and the witnessing of each other in our divinity, and then the freedom that that brings is really beautiful.
Yes, and a couple of things that you said that I want to just mention that is so true. One thing you said, we can do this because of the work we have done. Like when you were saying, I was thinking, yes, if this was 10, 15 years ago, I might have taken it personal. I might have, because if you don't have, as you say, your soul sovereignty confidence within you, then you're going to start thinking, what is wrong with me that she doesn't want to continue? But none of that played any role in this. And that's really is a testimony to the work we all do, for our own self-empowerment. And this is how it shows up, as you said, a new paradigm of relationships. And not taking anything personal has been one of the biggest things I changed in my life, because it never is personal, So, and the other thing that you mentioned, about beliefs, and, true that we keep changing belief. Therefore, why we attach to any of them, right? Like that is something that I no attachment, because even that, as I evolve, will change, because that, as my perspective changes, will change. Can I not attach to the point that I have to defend a certain belief and be neutral so I can see beyond what wants to become programmed in my head? So all of this is basically what I'm trying to say, gratitude for the opportunity to work with you, Jessica, because it did help me on my own journey in many aspects, from finding the comfort in doing the podcast and sharing more, getting out of my shell and feeling more safe about sharing, which has been always something for me that I struggle with. So, and it's been a pleasure, and I see it that we continue our friendship in a different level. I would like to become a guest in your show maybe someday when you're taking guests. When I start my new podcast, which most likely will be a Pathway to Lasting Joy podcast in a few months, I would love to have you and hear about your experience and your journey. So this has been a blast.
I'm so appreciative of like how we get to end the Radically Embody Love podcast with such grace and gratitude, and knowing that everything is perfectly aligned, divinely timed, and we both benefited so much. It's like with any relationship, right? When you're in it for a reason. And when it's time for that to end, for both souls' growth or evolution or whatever that is, it can be done with grace and gratitude. It doesn't have to be in opposition to, right? We don't have to, like you said, attach to what was. We can be with what is, and the truth that resides within both people. And this feels like so beautiful to both witness. And I hadn't had these same reflections until this conversation of it really landing in me in this way, of what a testimony this is to what we both stand for and what we both do in the world. And makes it even more powerful to me that, often I see that my soul brings particular circumstances and situations into my life in part for that greater embodiment of what I know and what I've been working on. And for me, it's the embodiment in this moment that I'm feeling of my truth is received in love by those who are capable of truly loving me, not for what I do for them, but for who I am, right?
Absolutely.
It's so powerful. And I can feel that in the beauty of that, and that what this relationship is. So thank you for everything. And my heart's so full. And thank you to all of the listeners and all of the support and tuning in. And keep a lookout for NASA's podcast in the fall, September and beyond, Pathway to Lasting Joy. And you can find mine, Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality, currently. Mine come out every week and on all major platforms. I'm sure yours will be too, all major platforms. So stay in touch with us, reach out, send in any comments or questions that you guys have. And yeah, so much love.
Yeah, I love this journey we had together, and I appreciate everybody who tuned in, left the comments. We love the contribution in any way we receive energetically or however we received it, we notice it. And we will leave a link for Jessica's podcast. And so you don't feel like we left you, you're just picking up some other podcast, different name, but I'm pretty much sure you will get this and more in that podcast. So tune in.
Well, thank you all so much. Sending you all lots of love and gratitude with bittersweet endings and new beginnings.
Bye for now.